Okay, then maybe we can start now. Thank you for coming back. Thank you for sticking with us. This is a very different session, as we'll be talking to you about one of our projects in greater detail, which is also slightly different from the rest of the work we've done. It's what we've called the story map, a digital story map of Beirut. And it's based on the development of short stories in the digital story format, which are, digital stories are kind of small videos that use photos, sometimes moving images, voice, and music. And young people whom we trained use them to tell something about the urban environment, highlighting connections between place, belonging, and citizenship. And so we combined digital storytelling with digital mapping, and with a group of young people in collaboration with Nahnu, we sought to explore how the lives and hopes of young people develop in particular places in relation to historical narratives, memories, and visions of the future. The map looks like this. You can access it on the website of ucitizen.org. We have this one is on Beirut and looks at the areas primarily around the Hosh. The decision was made to concentrate on this part of the city for a number of reasons. One of which is discussion around the Hosh and opening of the Hosh, but also the situation of the park between a very kind of diverse set of communities. The project has also developed similar maps in Sarajevo. We're now, Dimas Mayra, our colleague, is also working in Tyre with young people there, and in Nicosia in Cyprus. But today we'll be talking about the map through the stories of Mariam and Lamis. We'll present one of the stories that they developed for the map, and they will sort of explain to you how they went about it, what sort of made them decide to touch upon the subjects that they chose. And so we'll start by first watching Mariam's video, which is, as you will see, on the van route number 4.
فان رقم 4 هو وسيلة مواصلات توصل من الموقف بحي السلم بالضاحية على مستشفى الجامعة الأمريكية بالحمرة ببيروت، بس اللي بخليه مميز اشياء كتير.
طريقه ظابطة من الجامعة للجامعة، يعني وصل لساكنين بالضاحية بكذا نقطة ببيروت. فيك تقولي هو مثل البساط السحري، لأنه بيوصل وين ما بده وكيف ما بده.
بيسلف، يعني بتتعرفي على حضارتنا الشعبية من الأغاني اللي بحطها، حتى بتحسيه نايت كلوب متنقل هيك حاطط نيون لايتس على الجناب، بس ناقصه هاي الديسكو بول.
الصفحة عملناها على الفيسبوك للفان بالصدفة، وتفاجأنا قد ايه العالم تفاعلت معه وكبرت الصفحة. يمكن لأنه كلنا بنحكي نفس اللغة. بمبلغ رمزي 1000 ليرة بتنقل من حي السلم من أفقر المناطق، والجامعة اللبنانية أرخص جامعة. بتصير تنقل طبقيا تدريجيا لتوصل على الحمرة والأيوبية، يعني الأغلى الجامعات بلبنان. وعلى فكرة خطه كان خط التماس بالحرب الأهلية لما كانت المنطقة مقسومة بين شرقية وغربية. هلا عم يجمع العالم على نفس الخط.
هو مجتمع بقلب باص، بتشوفي فيه كل العالم من كل الفئات، العقليات، الأشكال والمناطق. فيك تعيش في فكرة الثقافة اللبنانية لأنه ملتقى للناس. شوفيرية فان رقم 4 عندهم سيكولوجيا خاصة فيهم تندرس لحالها، هاي كيف بيطاحشوا وبيكسروا على بعض وكل هالاشياء الخاصة فيهم.
الحلو انه بتطلع فيه بتحسها كأنها لعبة جيميفيكيشن فيها ليفلز لتوصل على الهدف. خردة حديد بتحمل كل أجزاء حياتنا، شغل، سهرة وظهرة، وإذا بدي أوصفه بكلمة واحدة بقول أسلوب حياة.
خدني معك تحلاني بالحمرة السكرة، خدني معك وديني عشارع الحمرة.
Thank you. So I'm Mariam. This is one of the stories we created as part of this project. We were asked to tell the stories of people living in different neighborhoods and around Hajj Beirut. And we did that by creating these digital maps, digital stories, as you've seen. The project gave me an interesting new perspective on Beirut, personally. And I discovered new gems, hidden gems that I hadn't known before. So that was an interesting aspect of it. Another thing, we were exploring space and place and the relationship of people to this space and place, which we usually take for granted, because if we're living in a place, we don't really think of that usually. But the nice thing here is it was kind of like we paused time for a moment to contemplate on the present in the light of the past. As I saw it, there were 3 axes of time during these stories, because we were, as I said, looking at the present in the light of the past to know the cause or what led us to the current present we are in. And at the same time, we were looking forward towards the future, because when you're talking about the present, you also have aspirations, maybe and dreams, how you'd like to change it. So maybe in this story, the story of van number 4, in the present we saw that it's a practical route which is very popular and people like to use. And if we look deeper and we dig to the past, we actually see that it has a symbolic value, because as they said, it's the green line, so it holds, and now everyone is actually using it on this green line, so it has a symbolic value concerning the civil war. And for the future, of course, we also have the aspiration of having proper public transportation, which is not only limited to this van, but extending to all of Beirut and Lebanon, of course. Luckily, this project was also done in Tyre, where I was helping Dima, another researcher, mentor youth there. We trained them on the same concept to create the digital stories, and they told some interesting stories about the city of Tyre. They addressed many issues, socioeconomic issues, environmental issues, historical issues. Hopefully that will be out sometime soon. For me, the importance of the map lies that when we look to the relationship of people to these places, we brought up a sentimental value to these places, which for me reinforces the sense of belonging to these places. So this is a really important aspect of it. And it was also a creative way to collect the data in a very participatory method, because the researchers were not from here, but we were locals, and we helped them get to the locals. And while creating the stories, we were also, like when we wrote the script, we got back to the people who we interviewed initially. We asked them if that's what they see. So it was very participatory by nature. And I'd like to thank Lynn, Constantine, and Dima, and Nahnu for this learning experience, because only through this project I actually realized that what I do as a volunteer with Nahnu is active citizenship. I remember when Dima asked me what citizenship means to me, I didn't have an answer, because I had never considered what citizenship really is. But then with reflection and contemplating, I realized, yeah, that's what we're doing with Nahnu. We're trying to affect the decision-making in the area where we're living, and we're being active parts of that. So that was a really opening point for me. And it also highlighted the importance of what Nahnu is doing by advocating for public space, because as we've said, like it's surrounding the map area was surrounding Hash Beirut, and that's what Nahnu is trying to do, and actually it opened. So that's really important because you're gathering people from different areas and backgrounds to this one entity where they can actually meet without the stereotypes we have and the sectarianism we're living in. And it also raised a few questions, which I realized are very similar to the questions the youth were already discussing in the previous session. One of the questions was regarding how we teach citizenship in schools, because it was only until now that I actually thought about it. So we should review that, how we're teaching citizenship in our education system. And another interesting fact was how we chose to forget what happened in the Civil War, because when I went back to see the past or the cause of the things or where we are now, it was really related to the Civil War, which I was never taught about in school, and I had to ask people to actually get to know this information. So that was another question mark for me. So that was basically it. I'm really thankful for this learning journey, and thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So yes, I didn't explain that Mariam is a volunteer with Nahnu. She's also a student in speech therapy at Lebanese University. And with her and along with another Lamis and another 4 youth, we worked on this project for about 3 to 4 months. Learning curve was shared. I mean, we all learned kind of how to go about this together. But we developed, I think, and learned a lot. And basically, this turned into a model that we're trying to replicate in other places, but clearly brings up different things. So now we'll turn to Lamis and your story, which is, I would say, the story of your mom. Lamis is a research assistant at the Nature Conservation Center here at AUB.
أحلى مكان في الدنيا هو بيتي، في راحة نفسي وهداء بالي، كرست حياتي فيه لتربية أولادي، سعادتي لا توصف وأنا بشوفهم بيكبروا قدام عيوني. يا حبايبي، طبعا معي زوجي بيساعدني بتربيتهم، هو مربي أجيال، كان مدير مدرسة هون في المنطقة، وفرحتي ما بتوصف لما بيجوا من مدارسهم وجامعاتهم وبنقعد مع بعض على سفرة واحدة وبنتحدث بشؤون العيلة، وكل واحد منا بيعبر عن رأيه باحترام. مرة قلت لهم أنا رايحة أتمشى مع جاراتي في الملعب البلدي هون بطريق جديدة، بعد كم لفة إجا عبالي أركض بسرعة، فجأة حسيت بألم قوي برجلي اليمين ومعش قادرة أوقف عليها. جاراتي طلبوا الإسعاف ونقلوني لمستشفى المقاصد اللي ما بتبعد كتير عن الملعب. هناك صوروا لي إجري، وبعد الكشف قرر الدكتور إجراء عملية جراحية لركبتي، وبعد العملية عملوا لي علاج فيزيائي، لكن من يومها ما بقدر أمشي إلا ومعي عكاز. أهلي وحبايبي وجيراني المحترمين ما تركوني بهالظروف، وهيك الناس عنا بمنطقتنا بيتميزوا بأخلاقهم الحلوة وعلاقتهم الطيبة، وخاصة في شهر رمضان شهر البركة والمحبة والإيمان. الناس بتتجمع على موائدهم بانتظار مدفع الإفطار وبتهتم بقراءة القرآن وأداء الصلوات والدعاء وطلب الغفران من الله. وأهل الخير بيحرصوا على تقديم وجبات إفطار للفقراء والمساكين والمحتاجين. وفي ليالي الشهر الفضيل تسمع المسحرات وهو ينادي لصح النايمين: يا نايم وحد الدايم، قوموا على سحوركم، خلي النبي يزوركم. وطبعا في مطاعم بتبقى فاتحة لوقت السحور، وخاصة أفران المناقيش. وقبل نهاية هالشهر الفضيل بنحضر كعك العيد والحلويات اللي بتضر ريحتها فايحة في البيت. ولما بيهل صباح العيد أول شيء بتسمعوا التهليل والتكبير في المساجد اللي بيأدوا فيها الصلوات، والناس بتعيد بعضها، والأطفال بيلبسوا ثيابهم جديدة وبياخدوا هديتهم وبيفرحوا بأوقاتهم الحلوة في مدن الملاهي وأماكن الترفيه. وأهم شيء بر الوالدين ورضاهم والمحبة بين الناس والتواصل اللي إلها تأثير كبير بحياتنا وسعادتنا.
Good afternoon, everybody. I hope you enjoyed what you have seen and what we have accomplished in the Youth Citizen Project. I chose Story Home for today because it reflects the stepping stone toward real life. In other words, home is the first school in which parents raise their children in atmospheres of love, freedom, and tenderness in order to live happily and find their healthy results and calmness. So, since community is a series of families and a chain of individuals, each member should carry out his role in collaboration with others, sharing their feelings and happiness and sadness. So, building bridges of love and respect away from hateness will sure lead to the reinforcement of family and social relationships, and sure will promote the sense of belonging to their country. Just let me talk a little bit about my experience in this project. It was of great benefit for me in many aspects, like technical skills, social interactions, recording, reporting, and writing. I have done interviews with different people of different ages from different backgrounds and levels. So, for example, the story A Place I'm Proud Of, which talks about the history of Tariq al-Jadida as an honorable part of the safeguarded Beirut, was narrated by a well-known professor specialized in studying the history of Beirut families. His books include important pictures and documents of the different areas of Beirut. Another story that broke my heart was Farewell, which talks about the most touching moments in life of a little girl who had lived a tragedy, having lost at intervals her beloved parents. You can feel the agony of a child in the story Guide Me and come out with good impressions about the people in their community who spare no effort in giving a hand to the needy. The story Unforgettable Days show how friendships and fraternity can affect positively in spite of sect and political differences. The story Landmarks in My Life reflect the importance of aspiration and devoutness of a young lady who strives to fulfill her needs, supported by good members of their society. The project has also contributed in promoting my own writing skills and how to express feelings, opinions, and ideas of others in a very well-organized way that can be noticed in my personal story, which talk about the different stages and situations I have gone through. In the end, I would like to thank you all for coming. Thanks for those who lead, guided, and shared in this project. I convey my best regards to the real heroes who forwarded their stories, which you have seen. Hoping you all my best wishes and to feel ease at home. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lamis. I mean, even just in this sample of two stories, you see two very different approaches to belonging to the city, to also maybe to citizenship. Because I would say that on the one hand we might be hearing about the intimate, the home, the family, maybe also the love and the religious bent. We're also, on the other hand, we're hearing about the shared space, the public space of the van, of mobility, of the way the city kind of gets connected by transport. But also transport itself becomes a moment that is shared. And I think in some ways, in trying to reflect on what Hashim said in the previous session, could maybe start thinking about how these stories might be telling a different approach or a different story about citizenship. How we might be thinking differently about belonging, and how there's very different ways in which one engages with space and the city and with others. So I kind of raise that as maybe you explore the map in your own time, because you will find that it looks at very different places, including Shatila, public space in Shatila, Fernand Shabek, and the diversity between the old and the new. There's the story of Zuhair and his passion for basketball, and how he uses his use of the basketball court by the Horsh has changed his relationship to the city, and how gradually he made new friends, and this has become part of his own geography and a sense of belonging to the city. Another story still is that of Ali, who talks about how during the 1996 bombing of Lebanon by Israel, he fled Dahi, go to his grandmother's house in Tari Jdide, and how the house has come to represent his fortress, or where he finds shelter. So I think they give us a different layer, a different understanding of belonging and story and also memory, which is maybe less about the war, less about what we keep hearing about, and more about the lived experiences of different people in a very sort of, which represent the kind of heterogeneity, the kind of diversity of the city. And so now would open the floor to questions if you want to ask anything about the project, or if you want to reflect on it and what you've seen. Yes.
Please, can you explain more about this map?
So we're developed what we call a digital story map, which is basically a digital map made of clips, digital stories. Technically speaking, it's about finding, you can find a story related to a certain place in the city, and which was made by the youth we collaborated with. They went around, interviewed people, they collected stories, they took pictures, they collected even archival material or family pictures, and created those short stories about different places and different people and different situations or memories. So the map is available online, and the idea is that through it, people might be tempted to go and explore certain areas that they might not have visited or experienced otherwise. They are also maybe showing that while there's many different stories, maybe there's also many different things that kind of are shared experiences across the city. People kind of living through similar difficulties, through different, having a different approach to certain memories, to certain events, but having experienced them nevertheless. It's a way to kind of retell the story of the city through a multiplicity of voices, multiplicity of perspectives.
Hi, thank you very much. That was actually very interesting. I want to ask you about your comment. How do these people on the van, the ones that you met, how ready were they to share information or their story, since you mentioned that it was mainly participatory?
Well, basically, what I meant by participatory, like I chose people who actually ride the van, but I did something kind of tricky. I chose people who are actually my friends, so I didn't have this, yes, they were my friends. I didn't have the, in other stories, they were people that I didn't know, but specifically in this case, they were people that I actually knew. But if you're asking about the way it was participatory, it was... there was a way, like the first step is you interview the person, so it could be a long interview, we record it, and I have it. And then I look at the recording that I got, and I write my initial script. Once I get the script, I go back to the person I interviewed, exactly, and I ask, is this what you said, or do you agree with this? And then once I get the agreement, then I can create the story. So that's how it was participatory.
I think definitely these places can bring us together.
Mm-hmm.
So were these people your friends you made when you were on the van, or you knew them?
No, they're actually initially my friends. One of them is actually here, Issam. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Yes, welcome.
But you also met the Facebook.
True. Yes, it was a chance to actually meet the guys behind the Facebook page of the van number 4. Yeah, it was through this project I actually got to meet a lot of people I don't know that I was interested in the neighborhood around Harsh Beirut, like Beit Wara. I don't know if you've heard of them. I got to meet those people. Yeah, I was always interested in their work, and this project was a chance for me to go there. I actually went to Shatila camp as well. That was my first time. I randomly met someone who lives in Tariq Jdide, and I told him about this project. He was interested, and he took me there on his bike in Shatila. So there were some other encounters with people I don't know. It was very fulfilling to the curious person that I am.
Any other comments or questions? Vip?
Is it because you didn't feel comfortable asking strangers? Or why did you stick with your friends? And also, are there other van Facebook pages? It sounds like a really funny thing. And there must be stories about every van, right?
I'm not sure. There's a Facebook page for van number 4. And I think it was just for the convenience. I don't mind meeting new people, and I did for other stories, but we had a time limit, and we had to do this while juggling your studies and other things.
So, and they actually said funny stuff and interesting things, so I could go with what they said. That's why I went for that.
As a young person, I'm still finding something that I'm passionate about that I can contribute with in my own country that can make a change. So my question to you is, how did you find the NGO that you're interested in, and what was the whole procedure that you went through into finding really something that you're passionate about and that you want to make a change?
That's an interesting question. Actually, my first encounter with the NGO was very random. They do a communication workshop, which I attended, and I had I didn't hear about NGOs or civil society initially, so I just went there, and the workshop was really interesting. It's intense. They give it like 8 days workshop. So that was life-changing for me. And then I started asking more about what they do, what's their cause, and sort of. And I started attending their meetings, and it started very slowly. Like at first I was just on the logistics team. I helped them carry the stuff, and that's all what we did. But نحن specifically was very, like they let you give whatever you have to give. So they helped me explore what I can give, and gradually it started developing, and now I'm working on this project here. So I think they have a big part in that. And I think if you find like the surrounding that helps you give what you can give, that would help you find your passion, I guess. Welcome.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone. I think we'll take a 5-minute break and then regroup for the last session. And I'm hoping you still have some stamina left for a rich discussion. Thank you very much.